G'day and welcome to JoeJoeMoto. Today I'm going to show you how to clean the carby on your dirt bike. Alright, so whether your bike is running a little bit rough, whether you've got your yearly maintenance going on, whatever it is that needs to be done, sometimes cleaning your carby can be the solution to some of your problems. So today I'm going to show you how to remove the carby, pull it all down, clean it all, inspect everything that needs inspecting, and reinstall and get your bike running tip-top. So let me just show you a few things first. Okay, so the carburetor is the fuel delivery system for the bike. So on most bikes, most older bikes I guess now, got fuel from the fuel tank, runs down into this guy here, and this has a slide and all sorts of valves and all sorts of jets and things going on, and that's what pumps fuel into your engine. So this is the guy that we're going to be working on today. Now you can definitely just remove the carby from the position there by undoing the two clamps and maneuvering it out of there, but for filming's sake, and I've got another little job I need to do as well, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the tank and the seat and get ourselves a nice big open area to play with here. So let's get started on that. Alright, so with the tank and seat removed, you can see a lot better in here and what we've got to do. So what we've got is the air boot, so the back of the air box here, and then we've got the joining, flange, gasket, whatever you want to call it, that goes between the carby and the reed block. So we've got a few things to start to undo. We're going to take off the top section here, which is the slide, so that's what controls the throttle. And then we're going to be undoing this. Now, as part of my other job, I do need to access the rear subframe sort of thing, so I'm going to be undoing some of those subframe bolts and moving the subframe out a little bit. You don't have to do this with this job, but it does actually make it a bit easier to get the airbox away from the carby a bit, because it's kind of hard to wrangle it out of that one little gap there. So that's going to help us a little bit. You can do it, but you don't have to at all. Alright, so let's start the actual carby removal itself by undoing the two big hose clamps either side of the carby, and then we'll knock the top off as well. We'll pull the slide off the throttle cable and everything there as well. Okay, so from the top of the carby there, what we've taken off is the slide and needle here. Alright, so this part is definitely well worth inspecting, making sure there's no weird gouges or anything like that on the slide, and the main needle here is nice and smooth and no weird as it comes down to the point here. You want to make sure it comes down nice smooth action. It doesn't have any big lips or anything like that on it, and mine's looking all fine there, so we'll just keep going and actually removing the carby out of the bike now. There we go. It always takes a fair bit of manoeuvring getting that out of there, but we got it out anyway. Having that boot out a little bit from here really helps you out as well to get it out and back in again's the hard part, so it's looking good. Alright, so we're all set up here with our carby on our bench ready to pull it down. This is where most people say to pull it down a little bit and chuck it into your amazing ultrasonic cleaner. Pretty well job done. Unfortunately, my budget doesn't extend to an ultrasonic cleaner, so it goes carby cleaner, bit of brushes, and a lot of elbow grease. So we're going to pull this carby down and pull it all apart, inspect every element, clean it all down with our carby cleaner, blow everything out, make sure everything is perfectly clean and every orifice that should be open is open and everything that should be shut off is shut off. So let's get to cleaning. So here is the carby assembly itself. And the main sections that we're going to be pulling apart are the float bowl down the bottom here, and it's got a float, needle and seat inside there, and then inside we've also got our different jets that we're going to have to tidy up and clean up. But you can see all of these lines are all old and grotty and whatever else, so we're going to pull them all down, clean everything up and start to pull it apart. Well, we're going to start by pulling the float bowl off here. Now, the many carbys that I've done over the years, these screws are, they can be a little bit tricky, so make sure you either use a lot of force and it set of vice grips or something, or you know, sort of know what you're doing, because they strip so easily. So make sure you got a lot of pressure on it as you're starting to pull them apart here, because as I said, they strip apart very easily. Now this whole thing's going to have fuel in it, so as we start to pull it apart, we're going to let it drain off into a tub so that we don't get fuel all over our workbench here. As with anything you've seen on my channel here, I treat things a lot like Lego. You know, put things where they should go, read the manual and look at things over and just put it apart, pull it apart and put it back together just like you would, you know, a quality bit of Lego kit. So we're going to do the same here, and we're going to pull it apart, lay it all down nicely, and so we know where bits and pieces go. Alright, with most of the fuel out of the bowl here, you can see as I pull off the bowl, you've got, looks to be a pretty clean bowl. There's not a whole lot of junk down the bottom. What you'll get in old bikes and old mowers and stuff like that is a whole bunch of sediment and junk and whatever down the bottom here. But that's looking nice and clean, so that's a good start. Definitely a good start. Alright, now inside the Carby here, this is the float. So what the float does is when the Carby's sitting up like this, up the right way, it lets fuel down into the bowl, into here, and as it comes up, the fuel level comes up, it touches that float, and the float actually floats, does what it does, and it starts to push up on the float, and the float is connected to a needle and seat down here, which stops the flow of fuel. So once it's got enough fuel sitting in the bowl here, it stops the fuel from coming in. So we'll pull this apart and we'll have a look at the needle and seat, because that could be our problem there. Something you definitely want to clean anyway, regardless. As we pull this off, there we go, there's the float, and there's the needle that just dropped out. Now the needle sits in there into this part here. It's called the seat, so that's the needle and that's the seat. And when you're inspecting, what you want to look at is the tip of the needle there has, you know, kind of a point. If it's a rounded point or it has some wear on it or something like that where that's been sticking in, then you've got to replace it or fix it up, sort of thing. So this one is looking really nice, no weird stuff going on there. So we'll inspect the seat where the needle sits into and see how that's looking. Our next job is to remove the jets. So you've got two jets here. I'm not a Carby expert, but one's the primary and one's the secondary jet or something like that. One's an idly one and one's something or other. So we remove these two and we inspect those to see if anything's blocked and give those a good clean out as well. Both of these jets just unscrew. Like a main jet and a pilot jet. So obviously you guys won't be able to see it, but in my fingers there is a little jet, and you should be able to look straight through that guy, and you can. This one's nice and clean, which is kind of a good thing. Always use the right tool for the job. Yeah. Anyway, now this guy here has again a direct hole through the middle, and if you can see daylight through there, you're good. Alright, then finally down inside here you've got another jet. Again, I'm not an expert. There's, I don't know, primary and secondary and pilot jets and all the rest of it, but I don't know. I just pull them apart and clean them. I probably should know that sort of stuff, but I don't. Anyway, this guy here. Ooh, geez, you're a bit tough to get out. Then we've got this jet here, which has a whole bunch of little holes in it, and also a main direct passageway as well, and we're going to make sure that that's all clean and clear. Well, from this point, now that we've got everything apart, it's just a matter of cleaning everything as well as you can, cleaning every sort of passage, everything that you can find in here, giving it a good spray out, blowing it with some shop air and compressed air and whatever else, making sure everything's just really nice and clean before you put it back together. And yeah, so let's get on to the cleaning phase. I don't think I'm going to get to cleaning all of the pipes and whatever, but as long as the internals are nice and clean, I'll be happy, hey. Alright, so when everything is really super clean on the internals there, not a speck of dirt anywhere, everything blown out and cleaned out with Carby cleaner, every jet, every section of the Carby inside there, you just reinstall everything just in the opposite order. So what we're going to do is we're going to start putting some of these jets back in the right spots, and then we'll go from there. got to install the float and the needle, which sits into the seat there, and that's all one unit that sits in the top of the carb section there, so you got to get it pretty precise. Now with the float in and needle and seat working properly, you just give it a little sort of test and make sure that it's pulling the needle up and down and reseating there nicely, which it is, and you're going to put the float bowl back on. Just testing the float level here. If you look up in the manual, it'll tell you sort of what degrees and whatever else the float should be at as it closes up the needle. That's all working fine though. Right, so with that, the last few screws put in there on the float bowl, job's done. It's pretty dirty on the outside. I'll give it a bit of a clean off, but we know it is definitely dust free, grit free, spooge free, anything free inside the carb, so we know it's all good to go in there. So now it's just a matter of bringing the bike back down, refitting the Carby, and we'll be good to go. So let's get the bike sorted. Alright, so now the Carby's all cleaned inside, it's looking beautiful. It's time to refit it to the bike here. Now I'll get the tank and seat back on. And now with everything back together and buttoned up, we turn the fuel tap on, check for any leaks, and then we'll see if it starts. Alright, she's all looking good there, so I assume the float bowl's full, so we'll give it a crank and see if she starts up. Okay, so with that, the bike is back together, it's running great, and the Carby is definitely clean. So super easy job. You guys can do it yourselves at home very, very easily. It's only maybe, I don't know, an hour at the most sort of thing, I guess, when you're getting used to it and everything like that. You've got to work out what needs to be undone and what doesn't. So super easy job. I recommend it highly for just maintenance, or if the bike's starting to run a bit funny or something like that, I would definitely give it a go and give it a good clean out, get it back together, and I'm sure it'll be running sweet again. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Like it, comment, do all the other social media stuff, and I will see you on the next one.